Namaskar. This is Pramita Mullick. Thank you very much, Indus Valley School, staff, the director, the students for inviting me today to speak something about really very, very important, particularly in these times. Your theme is Nomi Noro Debotare. What is Noro Debota? Noro we know is man, Debota is God. So we cannot say that he means man God, doesn't mean anything. What Rabindra wants to say is God in man, godliness in man, which he right from the beginning till he died, he worshipped that. He was a champion of humanity, so to say. Let me begin with the last lines of a long poem called The Child. I'll just narrate the story very briefly. A huge group of people, and coming from all walks of life, they are going on a pilgrimage. So when we go on a pilgrimage, we have something in mind. Either we'll find the goddess, we'll find our salvation, our moksha, or we might even find some book of black magic, which will give us immense power, or maybe wealth, maybe a gold mine. We don't know. And just like us, these pilgrims are on a pilgrimage. And through ups and downs, through months and years, they finally reach at a point. I just read that part. A ray of morning sun strikes aslant at the door. The assembled crowd feel in their blood the primeval chant of creation. Mother, open the gate. The gate opens. The mother is seated on a straw bed with the babe on her lap, like the dawn with the morning star. The sun's ray that was waiting at the door outside falls on the head of the child. The poet strikes his lute and sings out, "Victory to man, the newborn, the ever-living." They kneel down, the king and the beggar, the saint and the sinner, the wise and the fool, and cry, "Victory to man, the newborn, the ever-living." So, Rabindranath has always championed the cause of humanity. To him, the best worship, the best prayer that one can offer is by serving his fellow men, not only of his own country, but of the whole world. He believed in the theory of one world, one citizen. We are all human beings, and there should be a bond of love, a bond of understanding, tolerance. This is how we can be bound to each other. And that is why when he started his own institution, Vishwabharati, in 1921, he named it Vishwabharati, means the entire world meets there. So that was his idea, that was his mankind. And the portion that I read out from the child, I would just like to point out something, especially you all are, most of you are school children. You are our hope. Till you grow up, we always hope that you will bring a new dawn to this old earth of ours. Till a single new life is born in this earth, we can never give up hope, because morning shows the day. Child is the father of man, and you will show us the path. Rabindranath, as a child, had suffered quite a lot. I'll just tell you like a story that he was not satisfied with the process of education that was prevalent in his childhood. That was all book learning, nothing to satisfy his curiosity, his thirst for knowledge. You must be having younger siblings. You've seen when children are really small, they want to know everything. Why? Cano? So that is one recurrent question every parent, every older sibling has to answer, and that we sometimes become impatient. So many canos, so many whys. Why do they do it? Because the world is new to them. They want to know what is happening. They don't know what it is. They don't even know anything beyond the room where they were born and where they are gradually nurtured by their mother, by their father, by the family. So they don't know anything. What is a tree? What is a bird? What is the sky? What is the sun? And why? And we gradually teach them. Rabindranath felt that a child has a very deep bond with nature. When he used to go to school, he felt that all his energy, all his thirst for knowledge, to know more, was being kind of diverted, not diverted, steered into books. Books which had no meaning for him. And you all know that Rabindranath went to Oriental Seminary, he went to normal school, he even went to St. Xavier School, and in general, as a whole, his experience was not very good. So he never finished school. Yet, he was all the time hungering. He was thirsty for knowledge. He wanted to know the world. He wanted to know how everything works. He wanted to know about the star, about the trees, about the sky, about everything. And the school could not satisfy his interests and his quest for knowledge. And at the age of 11, when he went to the Himalayas via Shantiniketan for the first time, that was the first time when he really discovered nature. And he understood what he had missed, what he had been missing. So, he always felt for children, and he always thought that children should be given a holistic education. Not only 2 plus 2 make 4 and A for apple and B for boy, not only that. About the life, about their life they are living, about the world they are living in. So this to him was very important. So when at the age of 40, not very old, he decided to start an institution of his own. He chose to call it, in the beginning he called it the Brahmacharya, where children would be given all sorts of lessons, and sometimes very funny lessons too. Like, say for maths class, instead of teaching 2 plus 2, 4, 4 plus 2, 6, instead of that, suppose he would ask a boy, any boy, say Ram, Ram, just throw this stone or pebble. So Ram would throw, and then he would say that, can you tell me what is the distance that you have thrown? Maybe he would say 12 feet, maybe somebody would say 15 feet, maybe 20 feet. Then he would ask them to measure that distance. And suppose it is 21 feet. And then he will, immediately the child has an idea that this distance measures to 21 feet. And that is how his idea is formed inside his head not to go out. Similarly, about language classes, about just teaching ABCD, or those were there, but more in the story form. He would choose stories which would appeal to children, and then he would teach them the story, tell them the meaning in Bengali, and then very gradually he would introduce them to English and make them say the words. There's a very funny story. Once in English class, he had asked a boy that, আচ্ছা বলতো ছবির একটা গাধা আছে. Shobi probably was a name of one of the children in the class. So he said, Bol, translate it in English. Shobir ekta gadha ache. That boy said, Shobi is an ass. So the boys didn't know whether to laugh, whether to keep quiet, whether Rabindranath would get angry. And Rabindranath merely laughed and said, দেখলি তো ছবি, তোকে গাধা বানিয়ে দিল, তুই তো আর গাধা নোস, তোর তো গাধা আছে. So that is how he taught them the difference between is and has. Suppose somebody, he wanted to call somebody. So he would say that, say, Sham, come here. So Sham would answer, I go there. So this was the direct method of teaching. This is what he believed in. But don't think ever for a moment that he just taught them these things. He would teach them the names of the trees, how the trees changed during seasons, how a particular flower blooms in summer, that flower doesn't bloom in autumn, how an autumn flower cannot be seen in summer, how during the rainy season you see the kea and other maluti and other flowers which you don't see in other seasons. So they saw the season pass by in front of their eyes, and that is how they learnt that there are six seasons in our life. So this was a direct way of teaching, and he let them be. He let them grow their own vegetables, he let them grow their own gardens, take care of the trees. And another thing, he insisted that a child can only have a healthy mind provided he has a healthy body. So that was his Narodevata. He made it compulsory that the boys would play every day. That would be their physical exercise. And he insisted on that. I had the privilege of studying in Shantiniketan when I was a little girl. I was there till I was 18. And so my formative years were spent there. So I know how our entire life was, all the time we were learning something, but not always book learning. That was there. Of course, in higher classes it was there. But as we started, it was more direct kind of teaching, learning from nature, learning with nature. Oh, that's a caterpillar. What is a caterpillar? What does it feed on? Leaves. Which leaves? Oh, is this a togore leaf? Then can we call it a togore caterpillar? And we learned how we had to feed it with the togore leaf every day, and gradually how it stops eating and became a chrysalis, and then, wonder of all wonders, came out the butterfly. Even with tadpoles, many of you might be thinking that, oh my God, tadpoles. But we were very curious to see how tadpoles turned into frogs. And we would go to a very small water body called Pompa within Uttarayan, which is the Tagore's residential complex. There we would go and we would gather tadpoles and try to see if we could make, turn them into frogs. Very often we couldn't, but sometimes we could. So this is how, then even, birds, that these birds, there are some birds which you see throughout the year, and some birds you see only during spring. You hear their calls only during spring or maybe during the rainy season, and how the soil, how the trees, how the leaves, everything changes again in winter. So this is what our learning was like. And main thing was, it was fun. He believed that in order to become a true man, a true human being, to be able to control yourself, to be able to love the world, to be able to love your fellow being, you need to have a holistic approach. You need to have a holistic education. You become a whole, not just a part. So book learning is just a part of your learning, but complete education involves so many other things. We also did NCC. We went early in the morning to do physical exercises. We played basketball, we played hockey, we played volleyball, and so many other things. And there were so many festivals. That was another thing that Rabindranath did for the children of his school. He believed that man was, the more man was turning away from nature, the worse it is for him. So he said the nature with all its seasons have to be remembered. We have to be grateful to nature. We have to celebrate nature. So he started his various seasonal festivals. You must be doing the Vriksharopan, the tree planting ceremony. That was done in Shantiniketan. He did Varshamangal, celebrating the monsoon. He did Basantotsav, celebrating spring. He did Sharadotsav, celebrating autumn. So, and what other thing happened? As he was planning these festivals, he composed so many songs. He composed so many plays. And as you know, that when, I am sure you have so many festivals, you have so many functions that you have in your school, you have so many things and you participate in them, and immediately you feel that you are a part of your school and you feel so responsible and so good, instead of just coming to school and attending your classes and learning your lessons and getting good or bad marks, whatever. So he understood that children love to act, they love to sing, they love to dance. And he got all the materials for them so that they could learn. So that was his way of propagating his idea of Narodevata. To him, children were, they still had that innocence in them. They could be nurtured into real people. When you grow up, if you're interested, you will see that in many of his works, there's Gora, there's Choturango. Rabindranath talks about this Narodevata, how we can all serve humanity, how we can never shun humanity, as a whole we are human beings, and if we choose to be more tolerant towards our fellow beings, if we try to love them, if we try to understand them, doesn't matter if they're different to us, doesn't matter if their language is different, but the basic human emotions are the same everywhere. The magic is to identify the emotion first within you and then in the outside world. So in Gora, I'll just give you a very, very brief story. Gora is an Irish man who was abandoned by his parents when he was just a newborn. He was picked up by somebody whose wife, brought him up as her own. And so Gora knew her as her own mother, because she as his own mother. He didn't know that he was he didn't belong to them. So his mother's name was Anandamoyi. And Gora was very rigid. I'm a Brahmin. So why, he used to be very angry with his mother. Why do you let a Muslim come here? Why do you let a non-Brahmin come inside the room and sit beside me? You do that. I am not going to do it. Then Anandamoyi used to smile a little. And in the very end, there are so many, the plot thickens and there are so many ups and downs. At the very end, Gora realizes that he was a nameless person, not even a Brahmin, not even an Indian. And how a mother, forsaking all her earlier beliefs, her orthodox bringing up, her very limited understanding of human nature, even in spite of all that, how she was able to bring Gora up as her own. And that is how she shed all the superstitions. She was able to shed it because she understood that a child, the bond between a mother and a child, doesn't matter if the child is adopted. It is very strong. So you can feel very strongly about somebody who's not related to you by blood. So this is Rabindranath's Narodevata, which I thought would probably appeal to you and which you would understand. And Rabindranath had implicit faith in humanity, and he always said that you must believe in humanity. He never said that you must believe in the Brahmins or Vaishyas or English or Germans. No, in humanity, people of the world. Now, his last lecture before he passed away in 1941 when he was 80 years old. So on his 80th birthday, he had given a lecture. Its name was Crisis in Civilization. So in Crisis in Civilization, he spoke about all his disappointments, all his disillusions, how he was disappointed with the Western culture and the very materialistic world and everything. But he said about the moral decadence, a virulent self-seeking without being in the least aware of its moral perversion. We are letting ourselves into a vast wasteland of filth and hopelessness. Yet, throughout his lecture, he talked about this moral degradation of man. Yet, in spite of all this, he wrote, it is a grievous sin to lose faith in humanity. Manober upor bishwash harano pap. So he believed that a man can be savior. When I say man, you must understand, probably by now you have understood that he meant any man. A man who is born in this world. To him, that was a man which he was looking for. And that what he wanted everyone to be, that kind of man. So he was a true worshipper of humanity, and because he felt that children can be brought up in such a way that they became proper men. When I say men, I speak about human beings, not man, not he or she, not that distinction. No gender, no sex, nothing. So I am talking about mankind in general. Now I would like to sum up by just singing a song which probably most of you have heard, where he champions youth, the cause, he champions youth. He said that they are the hope. They will make mistakes, but at the end they will triumph. And he believed in that. Remember, he believed in you. So you are today's Naradevatas, and you have to remember that. So dibe ar nibe milabe milibe jabe na phire ei bharoter mohamanober sagor tire. Nomi Naradevotare. So I bow to all young people who are listening to this. So I end with my song. Amra nutan jobane ridut, Amra chanchal, Amra adbhut, Amra nutan jobane ridut, Amra beda bhangi, Amra ashok bone rangane shai rangi, Amra beda bhangi, Amra ashok bone rangane shai rangi, ঝঞ্ঝারো বন্ধন ছিন্ন করে দি, আমরা বিদ্যুৎ, আমরা চঞ্চল, আমরা অদ্ভুত, আমরা নূতন যৌবনের ঋদূত, আমরা করি ভুল অগাধ জলে ঝাঁপ দিয়ে জুঝিয়ে পাই কুল, আমরা করি ভুল যেখানে ডাক পড়ে জীবন মরণ ঝড়ে, আমরা প্রস্তুত, আমরা চঞ্চল, আমরা অদ্ভুত, আমরা নূতন যৌবনের ঋদূত।